Hi, good afternoon to all of you. I hope that you and your family are well and staying safe at home. For this week's listening lesson, I want to talk about the important topic which is the global epidemic. I think all of us know that this topic is very relevant to us right now. If you read news today, how many people have died, and you know we all feel bad about this situation, but please be positive. I hope that this situation will end as soon as possible. I also posted actually a discussion question on Edmodo. Some of you have commented or participated in this discussion. That is very good. I hope that in the next discussion question, many more will participate. Okay, let's begin. All right, there are key things to remember for this lesson, listening. As I told you many times before you have a break in the class, I said to you that in order for you to learn effectively through listening, you have to be an active listener. What I mean by this is that it is more than just focusing on what the speaker says. You also need to be active to record what this speaker says. How do you record that? One of the things that you can do is to take notes. Yeah? It doesn't necessarily have to be the full transcript or the full content of what you just hear, but it can be something small. For example, today, probably you want to watch a documentary about engineering, so you want to take notes on the key phrases or keywords or key terms related to engineering. If you watch TV shows or a movie, you might want to take notes on the common expressions or common phrases that are used commonly daily in our daily life. Okay? The next thing that you need to remember, of course, is to have a pen and a notebook with you, especially in the listening class. Not just that, because this is to prepare you for your future when you are going to your faculty. You have to listen to your lecturer or professors giving lectures. You are expected to take notes. So this point is quite important. The next thing that I want you to remember is to pay extra attention on the introductory part of a lecture. This is, I think, relevant when you are sitting for listening exam. Yeah? I don't underline this word extra for nothing, because of course you have to pay attention to everything that you hear in the exam. But why do you have to pay extra attention here in the introductory part? As I said in the class again and again, that it gives you a general idea of what the rest of the listening part is going to be. So that is that. And the next thing that you have to remember is the signal words. Most of you, I mean not most, but probably some of you, often tell me that you don't know what to write or what to write in your notebook or how to take notes, okay? So let me tell you that you need to pay attention, focus on the signal words. What are the signal words? Like firstly, next, in addition, in contrast. Why is this important? Because when you are, especially when you take notes, you want to know whether you are listening to still listening to the first idea, or whether the speaker is comparing or giving examples. So you might want to focus on that. And then there are also keywords that you need to know, such as the definition, okay, synonyms of the definition. For example, like it is called, or in other words, it is referred to. So you may want to take note on that. Also, example, I think all of you are familiar with this because you also use this in your writing. And then we move on to the characteristics, where we talk about characteristics, okay? You might want to know or take note on the adjectives, okay? And then type, kind, classified by category, okay? And then cause, reason, effect, impact, result, consequence, reaction. These are the synonym, similar meaning. And then method and step, solution, treatment, and measure. Also, for vocabulary, this vocabulary is a little bit related to the key words that we talked about in the previous slide. But it is more, specialized words. For example, if you listen to a lecture about ethics, for example, you might want to know what utilitarian means. If you listen to a lecture about information technology, you may want to know what big data means, okay? Something like that. So vocabulary is also important. And I want to stress on this part, because do not limit yourself with just learning these kind of words from your textbook, okay? As I said again and again in the class, let's say, for example, today we are talking about global epidemic. Then after this, find out more information about global epidemic. Read a lot more about this topic so that you have a richer vocabulary about this particular topic. The next point to remember is the pronunciation. Why is it so important for listening lesson? Is because most students, they know a word that is written, but when it comes to listening to that word, you know, you don't know. You don't know how to write it, okay, through listening. For example, in Turkey, Turkish students probably, they pronounce the word such as this, like examine. They mistakenly or mispronounced it as examine. Notice, notice, okay, they said notice. Language, they would say language, for example. I still remember when I said this word to my students was like saying, what that is, what is it? Because they pronounce it as cousin instead of cousin. So pronunciation is very important. Now, my suggestion to you when you want to know the correct pronunciation is when you watch something, let's say a movie with subtitles, watch, listen to the words and match with the subtitles. Or let's say if you come across a word that you don't know from reading, Google it to know not just the meaning of that word, but also the how to pronounce certain words. So this is the structure usually. Let me talk about the exam first. we give you kind of like some time to look at the outline, for example, yeah? So use that time wisely. What you need to do when we give you time to look at the outline or questions before you listen to a particular lecture, you use prediction. For example, if a question gives you, for example, the question asks you about when, you need to know, for example, use prediction. Yes, probably it could be a year, it could be dates or months or something like that. If the question asks you about types or characteristics, oh, you should know that these words are coming in as adjectives, for example, right? So, and plus you need to get ready to listen and organize your notes, because from my experience, students listen and then they know how to jot down notes, but all everywhere. And then when it comes to answering the questions, they don't know which notes that they should take. So you have to organize your ideas. Now, while listening, when you listen to an audio or a lecture, do not write in full sentences. You have to use abbreviations or symbols instead. Abbreviations means a short form of a word. For example, you can write EG or EX. Okay, it means example. DEF, definition. IE means that is, or other words. Or you can use symbols like this, arrow up, arrow down, meaning increase, decrease, or go up, go down, right? Always check your answers after you answer the questions in the exam. Okay, now let's focus on our topic for this week, epidemic. Now when we talk about epidemic, you also hear the word pandemic. Yeah? People use this interchangeably because it means the same thing, but a little bit different in the sense that, look here, epidemic is a disease that affects many people at the same time. It's a disease. The event, the occurrence, okay, at the level of region and community. But pandemic is related to geographical spread. It describes a problem that affects the whole country or the entire world. Now, probably you might not know this, that there are two kinds of epidemic. The first one, it can be infectious or contagious, and then it can also be non-infectious. What we are experiencing right now is infectious because of the virus and things like that, right? Okay. Now, before I play you the video of the lecture today, just think about it for a while. Public health officials are concerned about your health as well as that of the entire community. What are the ways that they look at to prevent diseases from spreading and to promote health so that everyone can live healthier lives? Now, when we talk about the branch of public health, of course, is related to something which is healthy lifestyles. Now, there are two parts in this question. The first part is, what are the ways that the public health officials look at to prevent diseases? And the second part is, what do they do to promote health so that everyone can live healthier lives? Think about the situation right now that we are living in. What are the ways that the government prevent this kind of disease, okay, coronavirus or COVID-19, to spread more? So you may think about schools being closed. What else? You may think about you need to like wash your hands for 20 seconds, because before this, I don't think many of us are aware of how important washing hands is until right now, right? Also, probably you can think about some countries having or imposing travel restrictions or travel bans. In other countries, they impose a lockdown. So that is for the first part of the question. And then we have the second part of the question, how to promote health so that everyone can live healthier lives. Think about that and post a comment on Edmodo, okay, about the second part of the questions, right? Okay. Now, before we move on to the main lecture of the day, let's have a look at the vocabulary part. If you have the book, you can turn to page 83. I guess all of you are aware of what the words mean, but in the context, you may not know. You know, for example, okay, the first sentence, it goes like this: we know approximately how many people are obese. We don't know, we don't have exact figures. So in your mind, approximately means generally. Like about, okay? I just give away the answer. But anyways, now when you want to know the meaning of a word, if let's say you don't use a dictionary, okay, you have to guess the meaning from the sentence. Before you guess, you have to read the whole sentence. We have, for example, like we don't have exact figures. Figures mean numbers, yeah? So approximately means generally. And then the second part is, let's have a look. People who regularly consume excess calories gain weight. Of course, I guess in my mind you already know this word because gain weight. That's the clue. So excess means too many. And then healthcare workers witness many overnight patients at the clinics. Witness, observe. Observe, witness, see. Okay? So the next one. The school plans to adopt a new schedule. They want to give students time to exercise. Okay, so what do you think these words mean? Guess the meaning from the sentence here. A new schedule, and then give time to exercise. So what does it mean? What does it mean? Yes. It means start to use, yeah? Okay? Now, let's have a look at the other sentence. People who are affluent have extra money to spend on entertainment and travel. Guess again, extra money to spend on entertainment. So, of course, it should be wealthy. What does it mean, wealthy? Rich, yeah? Somebody who has a lot of money. And then the last part, the guidelines for healthy eating include how many vegetables to eat daily. Guidelines means suggested rules. Okay, what are the guidelines for you if you were to go out to other place or to work? Of course, right now the government asks you to stay at home, but let's say if you want to go out to buy food from the supermarket, what are the guidelines? Of course, you have to, it's kind of like a social distance. That's one of the guidelines, right? Okay. And then the next one. There are several factors that contribute to the problem, not just one. Okay, factors, okay, like kind of like reasons. The cause, yeah. There are several factors that contribute. Contribute means to cause. Secondly, the companies decided to implement nutrition classes for employees. I think we talked about this earlier, I think, in class. Implement here means begin to make happen, okay? The third sentence, the main was too busy to exercise. Something's wrong in this sentence here. These had a negative impact on his health. Of course, negative is, what is negative here? Of course, harmful, right? And then the last part is there has been a shift in what people prefer to eat. Shift means major change. All right? Okay, so you are about to watch this unit lecture on obesity as a global epidemic. As usual, have a pen and a notebook with you right now, because you are going to watch and then at the same time take notes on what you hear. But before that, let's move on to the outline. So quickly jot down the outline here. Let's have a look one by one, okay? So why is obesity called global epidemic? Okay, so you need to answer this here. WHO, definition of obesity. WHO is an acronym for World Health Organization. Okay, how do they define obesity? What are the countries affected by obesity? And what are the reasons for the increase of obesity, okay, in these countries? Examples of lifestyle changes, what are they? There are also successful treatment programs. What are the characteristics of these? Okay, probably you want to focus on the adjectives and examples of treatments programs. So, are you ready with your a pen and a notebook? Because we are going to watch the video.
Now, when most people hear the word epidemic, they think of an infectious disease that spreads quickly, like hepatitis or Ebola. However, infectious diseases are just one type of epidemic. Today we're going to talk about another kind of epidemic, one that is non-infectious. This is the epidemic of obesity, which is now officially a global health problem. Obesity is a health condition in which a person has an excess amount of body fat. The World Health Organization, also known as the WHO, measures obesity by body mass index, or BMI. The formula for calculating your BMI is your body weight in kilograms divided by your height in meters squared. An adult BMI of 18.5 to 25 is considered normal, 30 and up is considered obese. According to the WHO, worldwide obesity has more than doubled in the past 35 years. Today, approximately 600 million adults are considered obese, and obesity in children has increased sharply. One of the countries with the highest percentage of obese people is the United States, with a whopping 33% according to the National Institutes of Health. That's probably no surprise because the US, like the UK and Japan, is a developed country. But what's important to point out is that the number of individuals classified as obese is now increasing at a faster rate in economically developing countries like Brazil, China and India. And surprisingly, the rate of increase for children in these economically developing countries is 30% greater than in developed countries. So that's what's going on. The world is putting on weight at an alarming rate. Today we want to look at the causes of this new epidemic, which are economic, social and behavioural. From an economic standpoint, something has clearly changed. In the past, obesity was considered a disease of affluence. This means that typically only affluent people became obese. Why? Because wealthy people were the ones who could afford to eat lots of rich foods and enjoy the leisurely kinds of lifestyles that led to being overweight. Nowadays, obesity is no longer just the disease of the affluent. Increasingly, we're witnessing the occurrence of obesity all over the world with middle and low income people. Why? Because more and more people are adopting a modern lifestyle. Increased use of technology for work and leisure, less physical activity, greater use of cars, growing access to inexpensive, high-fat, high-sugar fast food. But there's something else going on here. We're seeing a social or cultural shift. The food people prefer is changing. We now see fast food replacing traditional food in many parts of the world. We're also seeing a behavioural shift. The role of food is changing. Food is being used as entertainment, as a stress release. We all have easy access to sweet and fatty foods and drinks. Modern life also presents conveniences that give us choices about activity. If you can take the escalator or walk up the stairs in a train station, which will you choose? If you can drive your car versus biking to work or school, what will you decide? If you can play a video game or take a walk, which will you do? So in addition to economics, social and behavioural factors contribute to obesity. In short, we're seeing that as countries develop economically, people make lifestyle changes that seem like improvements, but actually have a negative impact on their health. So, we know obesity is a growing global epidemic, and we also know from research that any successful obesity treatment program must have a three-level approach. It must focus on nutrition, lifestyle, and strong community support. So, what can and are public health workers doing to respond to this epidemic? First, for nutrition, people are encouraged to eat more fruits, vegetables and grains, less sugar and fat. And families are encouraged to have shared meal times, rather than grabbing fast foods throughout the day. In Finland, for example, officials are addressing the problem of obesity in children by changing the food standards in daycares and schools. They're working to reduce access to sugary, high-fat snacks and drinks in school vending machines. In another example, China now has a national healthy eating campaign that encourages people to eat a more traditional diet and less fast food. Second, for lifestyle. We know children need 60 minutes of vigorous physical activity every day, and for adults at least 30 minutes a day is recommended. But we also know it doesn't work simply to tell people to be more active. We have to find ways to include activity into daily routines. A number of global companies, like Genentech and Zappos, are now including dance classes and gym sessions during the workday. And schools in Japan are now implementing new guidelines to be sure students get a minimum of an hour of physical activity during the school day. And third, we know that individuals are only likely to change their habits if they have strong group support. Community-based programs can be set up at a school, at a company, in a neighborhood. We can see examples of this kind of support happening in Nigeria, where there are neighborhood programs to teach families about nutrition, or in the US, where cities organize programs like Keep Moving or weight loss programs. To sum up, we know obesity is now a global epidemic. The fact that the rate is increasing, especially for children, is a call to action. And there are complex economic, social, and behavioral factors why people become obese. I'd like you to make a list of 5 questions you would ask if you were a public health worker assigned to talk to a family that was obese. What questions would you ask about their daily habits and lifestyle? Okay, see you next time.
Okay. All right, so did you get the key words, the notes that you're supposed to write here? I'm going to show you my version of the outline. Okay, so as you can see, we have symbols here. Of course, abbreviation as well. Econ, affluence means healthy. Wealthy. Social shift. What does it mean by that? Equal symbol. Fast food. Short version. Okay. Of behavior. And then 60 minutes and then /day. It means per day. So my point is that when you take notes, you need to use abbreviations and also symbols instead, okay? Now, we are going to go to the questions. If you have the book with you, turn to pages 86 and 87. These are some of the important questions that is in your book. Okay, let's have a look first. What is the lecture mainly about? Of course, it's about global epidemic of non-infectious, which is obesity, right? So, let's see, okay, obesity. And then, according to the lecture, why is obesity considered an epidemic? Why? You know the meaning of epidemic already, yeah? Because it is a global problem here, spread worldwide, in other words. And then a disease of affluence. What does he mean by obesity is nowadays it's not just a disease of affluence. It means, as you can see, affluence means wealthy, and the question is, what does he mean? Yeah, by obesity is not a disease of influence means everybody who, even if this person is not wealthy, can be obese. That's what it means by this. Okay, the next one, based on a body mass index, what is considered normal? Look at your notes again. What is considered normal? BMI, normal here, 18.5 to 25. It is considered normal. And the last question is, adults need at least 60 minutes of physical activity a day to be healthy. True or false? Look back at your notes. Oh, sorry. 60 minutes a day. So it means false, because for adults, we only need 30 minutes per day. So this is how you take notes, and this is how you answer the questions, and then you refer to your notes. All right? Now, by the end of this week, I'm going to post another a discussion question on Edmodo, so please keep yourself updated with what's happening, because as you know, we are facing a really global health issue, but I hope that it will end soon, as I said. So I guess that's all. If you have any questions, you can always send a message to your advisor or to your teachers to ask more information about anything at all. So I guess see you next time.